Greetings, my friends. Reform Stoic here. All right, let's give this one a shot. People don't like stuck men, therefore, stuck men stay stuck. Gosh, what do I have to say about this? A lot of men are trying to figure out how to reach out. They realize there's a problem, they're looking for solutions. But what happens? What happens when you tell someone that you haven't had any luck with women in a long time? You're either made fun of, mocked, or basically gaslit, or you're fed a stereotype. I just now put in the search engine advice for lonely men. I'm going to play you like the first 30 seconds of this guy's video. This is Hunter Avalone, My Advice for Lonely Men, and it has 570. This guy's channel has 571k subs. Listen to this.
Something that comes up quite often when talking about going on dates is this girls don't like nice guys thing. You've heard that before. I know you have. Girls don't like nice guys. I'm just a nice dude. I tipped my fedora like 5 times and she didn't even wink at me. It's not that girls don't like nice guys. It's that the quote unquote nice guys aren't actually nice.
Okay, so that's 21 seconds, not even 30 seconds. And I'm just helping you relive what I just went through. I turned this off exactly at that point. This guy's channel is pretty huge, 571k subs, and everything he just said is a complete stereotypical cliche. It's something you've heard a million times, and the way he's voicing it, like, girls don't like nice guys, girls don't like nice guys. He's already has a mocking tone, and he's speaking very confidently, like he's saying something very deep. And as we all know here, he's not. There's a lot of guys who are stuck who are not quote unquote nice guys. This is a complete oversimplification at best, and at worst, it's basically gaslighting. You know, you go into these discussions on forums online, and they say, you need to work on yourself, you need to improve yourself, implying that you're probably overweight, or you haven't done any self-improvement. I know that there are so many guys out there who aren't overweight. I mean, that's why they came up with the gym cell stereotype, because there's so many guys going to the gym. You know, you maybe already have 6-pack abs. You're already been lifting for 10 years. And then it's like, well, you need to get a personality, bro. The quote unquote advice is toxic and unhelpful. And all of these things that you're going to hear from people, it's going to bring you to the conclusion that you just want to hide away from society. And then people will say, well, you just don't want to hear the tough love, bro. You just don't want to hear the tough love, bro. You can't handle it. It's not love. These people don't give a shit about you, man. And they don't like you. And I don't even really know what to say here, guys. You know, maybe this video is already about over. I just want people to know that I understand. And obviously, it's something very similar to what I've gone through. Hell, it's basically exactly what I've gone through. We're living in a time of haves and have-nots. I hate to like beat everybody over the head with that The Hill article about 60% of men single, 30% of women not single, but you know, I really don't hate to beat that article to death, because it just needs to be realized that these people are wrong. Men are simply just not making it. It's a race. You ever watch the Olympics? You ever watch like Olympic sprinters? You know, what is there, like, how many people get medals? Gold, silver, bronze? How many people are running? 20. What are you going to tell the guys who came in last place? What are you going to tell the guys who didn't win the medals. Oh, you're not working on yourself, bro. They're an Olympic athlete. They're all Olympic athletes. It's just not everybody can win. And I truly believe that we're living in a time where not everybody can win. A lot of people are talking about UBI. Yang had a very, he was in there. People were talking about Yang. No, he was never like gonna be in the election, but it was being talked about. And I listened to Yang's audiobook, and it's something that was being taken seriously. We very well might be in the end of this system as we know it. I at least consider that these problems are only going to get worse until either the draconian system simply just starts feeding people into a war or something changes. And the sad reality is that those changes might be some sort of a UBI, which I'm not saying it's not that I don't endorse it, because I think I do endorse it, but UBI is basically going to be an acknowledgement that a lot of men just can't make it. It's like, look, bro, there's no solution for women not wanting you other than like forcing women to do something they don't want to do, and that's not going to happen. So UBI is like, hey, bro, I get it. Like, you don't want to work because there's nothing here for you. So, here's a roof over your head and a Netflix account and a means to stay alive and be an observer. I mean, I feel like these discussions need to be had. This isn't me complaining. My channel is trying to help people, man. And yeah, it does come from my experience. I feel like my life was a train wreck. And I also feel hesitant to make more of these kind of videos because I got so many people desperately trying to write me off. And if I speak about these things, people are trying to shame me into a corner, which basically, a lot of the conclusions I've come to is that I should just pretend everything's fine for me. I should just pretend everything's fine and that, I'm blossoming into whatever the post red pill rage kind of a person is. And I don't want to say it's pretend. I mean, I'm somewhere in between, guys. I'm still alone. I'm still going without women with no solution anywhere near sight. And you don't want to hear a cliche. You don't want some soy boy with 600,000 subscribers for some reason. I don't know why. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense to me, bro. It's like the ending of Better Call Saul. It's like, why do I feel like I have a completely rational, logical opinion that there's just not that many people who agree with me? And I'm going to face ridicule if I say it. Yeah, I mean, that video just doesn't need to be watched, bro, because logically, maybe all quote-unquote nice guys are struggling with women, but are all people who are struggling with women quote-unquote nice guys? No. There's a lot of factors that are going into this, and I still believe that they're not all understood. As we saw in my podcast on Monday, CNN is starting to slowly admit to more and more of the truth, but not the full truth. And I do believe that these establishment news outlets have access to better research. So when they're saying things like half of women don't want to date men that are shorter than them, it's like, wow, I feel like I haven't really heard that very often. The establishment has access to better research than we have access to. I at least consider that. So when CNN decides to release some of these statistics that maybe we don't fully know about yet, it's something to consider. So what's my solution here? Well, in light of this data that is vindicating these red-pilled, black-pilled, MGTOW frustrated, relationship frustrated, lonely men, I think the tone needs to change. And when I say the tone, I mean this.
Not that girls don't like nice guys. Oh, you have. Girls don't like nice guys.
Girls don't like nice guys. That tone needs to change. Because it's been proven to be gaslighting at this point. And I believe the real statistics was 63% of men single, 37% of women single. So men are being vindicated. Like, there is just a massive amount of men left in the cold. I believe the nice guy thing is a rite of passage. Not for everyone. In the 90s, early 2000s, and before, men who were not Chad had a nice guy phase where they didn't understand women and they got bad advice from television, or they just had no advice. So they think, okay, there's a girl I like, I'm going to be nice to her. Wow, I was just nice to this girl and she was mean to me, and now I'm having a negative reaction. I think that's something that a lot of men went through in their late teens and early 20s, and then eventually you grow out of it, or you become one of the minority of men who completely failed. A lot of people try to say that there was always this massive amount of men who were failing or that were returning to nature. No, the fall of the Roman Empire was 500 AD, and ever since then, Western society has been Christian up until very recently. And still, atheists are not the majority, even though the system tries to make it that way. So what I'm telling you right now is monogamy was, and this is just a rough estimate, 500 AD up until very, very recently. So when people are talking about we're returning to nature, this is the natural way of things, it's this LARPy, ancient, pre-civilization idea that's completely unfounded. And when you're appealing to like the Roman Empire, you are appealing to Nero and Caligula. Have you ever seen the movie Caligula? I got through like maybe an hour of it. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend that movie. It was always floating around on these most disturbing movie lists of all times. You don't really want to appeal to the way of life in the Roman Empire, boyos. People were being fed to the lions. Men were being raped by men, and you don't want to appeal to the way of life in the Roman Empire, and I don't see why you would want to appeal to the way of life before that. It's LARPy, it's neckbeardy, it's cringe, okay? A lot of people want to say, how could you possibly say that life was good in medieval feudal Catholic times? Well, we're talking about 1000 AD. When you're talking about the return to nature, you're talking about BC. You're talking about even earlier times. So by your very own logic of, wow, that was such a long time ago, therefore it's bad, your return to nature is even worse than that by 500 to 1,000 or more years. So I think that's about all I have to say here, guys. I don't have a solution. I think what we're seeing is a problem with no solution. For the risk of getting a hate speech strike, I'm not going to elaborate. Pandora's box has been opened, and I think we know what that box is. Am I suggesting that it should be closed? Well, that's why it's Pandora's box. Once it's open, it's open. There are men left out into the cold, and I don't think that's going to change. I think we're either going to see war, which more or less conspiracy theory wise, is for the purpose of depopulation. Maybe America getting shipped off to Ukraine. I mean, we've already dumped billions and billions into their war. Oh my gosh, it's not enough. Well, let's start shipping our men over there to go die for Ukraine. I mean, it's not out of the realm of possibilities. People are talking about a war with China by 2025. Hey, guys, if you're in the military, please get out. If you're a follower of mine, please get your money and do your stay and get out, man. I don't want anybody in my circle to go die for Ukraine. And that's probably what's going to happen. Because, and then, UBI, people are saying, well, your UBI is going to be cut off if you have a bad social credit score, and it's going to be some weird cryptocurrency that steals more of your rights. Yeah, probably. It doesn't have to be that way, but that's probably how it's going to be. You know what, guys? We're in a corner, okay? When we're talking about the majority of men, literally 60% of men, and the study says 63% of men, that's over the majority of men. Well, are we going to sit here and say that the majority of men were never important to the survival and thriving of society? I mean, bro, your fucking devil horns are starting to stick out of your head. Your narcissistic grin, your teeth are fucking pointing through, or like piercing through your lips at this point. It's just getting insane, guys. And every single aspect of this, being gaslit, looking at soy boys with 600,000 subs, saying cliches from 20 years ago, every single one of these things points in the same direction. Isolation. I don't want to hear this. I'm going to isolate myself. I'm being shamed. I want to isolate myself. I'm being ridiculed under the false guise of tough love, when the statistics are starting to prove that I've been left out in the cold. I'm going to isolate myself. What's the solution to men isolating themselves? I have no idea, bro. Go outside and get gaslight and ridiculed. Go be made felt like there's something wrong with you. Go have people, well, there is something wrong with you. Well, I mean, what are you going to do? You're going to go in your apartment and you're going to drown it out with music and television and studying, hopefully. I mean, and look, not everybody's cut out. Like, I can compromise with thou who shall not be named talking about mental masturbators. And I'll just go ahead and cover that real quick. Is there any merit to a philosopher? Is there any merit to critical thinkers? I mean, would society be better off if Plato didn't exist? And that's maybe a discussion for a different video. But am I grateful that these philosophers exist, even the ones I disagree with? Absolutely. And I don't think that society is primarily philosophers. And that's the point that I'm about to make, is that, look, a lot of men, you're just not wired to be a critical thinker. And I'm not going to sit here and ha 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 ha, na 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 boo boo. You're not a critical thinker, which maybe you could argue implies, you're not as high IQ or you're not as smart. It's whatever, bro. I mean, we're saying, are you going to sit here and say society didn't need the majority of men to thrive? Well, are we going to sit here and say that society needed all men to be philosophers to thrive? No. If that was the case and all men were philosophers, well, then I would agree with that, with what thou who shall not be named was saying. You're all just mentally masturbating and nothing's getting done. The reality is the majority of society has never been philosophers, aka mental masturbators. I mean, I feel like philosophy should exist. I'm glad that philosophy exists. And frankly, thou who shall not be named claims himself to be a philosopher, so by his own reasoning, he shouldn't exist. But I'm the best educator in the world. Literally nobody thinks that. Find one person to go on video and film their face and say, "Hi, I'm a real person, and I think that thou who shall not be named is the best educator in the world." Nobody thinks that, bro. Am I losing my train of thought here? So are we now starting to see a time of mental masturbators? Well, I think a lot of men who maybe shouldn't be philosophers are starting to go on the internet and just be like, "Hi, Hi, my name's Richard, and I'm alone, and I think I'm alone because, I mean, their reasoning isn't that great. They're not the best orators, and some of them are getting a lot of views and subs because a lot of men agree with them. And do I think that that's bad? Well, I can understand how some of these people are not philosophers. I've always said the mark of a real black pill channel is somebody who's not very well spoken. Now, are you allowed to be a well-spoken black pillar and not be a fed? Absolutely. But I think the majority of quote-unquote genuine black pill channels is some guy who was probably meant to be a worker bee who got married and had a family and was average, and that's no longer available for you. So you, who are not destined to be a philosopher, you have stumbled onto YouTube. Hi, it's a shitty camera, crappy audio. I'm lonely, and you know, you're not that great of an orator. Am I going to sit here and give those people shit? No, because I understand why it's happening. Society is gaslighting you. Everything has been taken away from you. And ultimately, if I really wanted to, because now I can start to see how people are going to accuse me of being obsessed with thou who shall not be named. Even though everybody here knows that he started it. I could literally take clips where you're saying that men have no reason to work anymore. I could take clips of you saying that and then clip you contradicting yourself by calling men lazy. Like, and that's it. I'm ready to stop talking about this person. It looks like they're not going to respond to my latest video, which is smart. If you stop talking about me, I'll stop talking about you. I understand why men are doing this. I understand why men are leaving society. I understand why men don't want to work. And just shaming them, well, that's beating the dead horse. Like I said, my favorite quote of the last couple of years. When you need your horse to go faster, you whip it. And at some point, the horse lays down, dying, and you whip it, and it says, no, I'm thirsty, I'm hungry, no. Okay, whip me. Ow, it hurts. It already hurts to starve. It already hurts to go without water and food and be exhausted. I'm just going to lay here and die, even if you whip me. So, man, a little bit over 20 minutes. Between 20 minutes and 30 minutes is really the sweet spot, man. Like, it just flows out. This is just what it is, guys. Are you going to listen to a soy boy tell you that nice guys aren't really nice guys and that's going to change your life? No. Is somebody, like, getting a big evil grin and ridiculing you going to make you want to come out of isolation? No. Am I saying anything that hasn't already been said a million times? I feel like I put my own little spin on it. I mean, that's how music works, you know? Grunge happens. You know, I mean, why is all grunge music labeled grunge? Because there's similarities, but a good grunge band will not sound like a cliche. Once it's time for a new trend, you're going to have like 100 bands that all pretty much sound the same. And then it's time to move on. I think this is like, you know, a band that maybe isn't going to be a legendary timeless band, but this is a band that still is before the music has hit the fan and it's just like a poser. I feel like this is worthwhile. I feel like this is a rant that deserves to exist. And here it is. Enjoy the premiere, my friends. God bless you. I will keep thinking about solutions, but I feel like we're living in a corner. Trapped in a corner. Listen to that song by Death. That's us, baby. We're trapped in a corner. We're the horse that is getting whipped while we're dying of starvation. Yeah. God bless.